one thing I wish that I knew when I started lifting and calisthenics is this: don't rush the progressions. What do I mean by this? When I first started out in calisthenics, one week I would do the push up, the normal push up variation, and then the next week I try and do archer push ups without really even mastering the push up. And it'd go from the archer push up to the decline push up, and then from the decline push up, it went to the close grip push up. It's like this ADHD thing where you just are constantly switching from this progression to the next progression to this other progression, and then you switch out the exercise and then you replace it with fucking hammer curls with the kettlebell. Like, dude, you're not gonna make any gains doing that. Sure, you might, and that's a strong might, make gains from it, but it's not even gonna be that good. It's like, let me explain it in video game terms. It's like that one guy on the team that keeps switching mains. If you played a game like Paladins or Overwatch, you'd know. It's like the guy that switches from, the characters again, from a Tracer, and then he goes back to fucking Gorilla Grodd, whatever that monkey's name is, and then he doesn't really master one character, and then it's kind of like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? They're not even in the same ranking class. Like, the one guy is a fucking flank and you're switching to a tank. So that should kind of make sense. And the same analogy can be used with training. I don't want you to make that same mistake. Master the basics, master the push-up. Since we're talking about push-ups, in this example, don't rush the progression. The only time you should really rush the progression is if you can do 20 reps of that exercise. You've heard me, 20 reps. Don't listen to these people that say, oh, the optimal muscle building rep range is 6 to 12 reps. That's honestly bullshit. I mean, I'll show a picture of me following that advice. I look significantly worse. Yeah, sure, you can say I was kind of fit. No, I wasn't. I mean, sure, kind of, but for that, I was kind of looking a bit fat, and it was kind of discouraging. And that's what happens when you follow that 6 to 12 rep range bullshit. Now, disclaimer, if you are just starting out, sure, start off with 6 to 12 reps so that you can build up the necessary strength for that exercise. Like, if you're starting with push-ups and you just progressed from kneeling push-ups, where you put your knee and then you start doing push-ups, and you're doing standard push-ups, sure, start off with 6 to 12 reps. But once that starts getting too easy, start amping up the reps. It's kind of like simulating lifting heavy, where you lift heavy and you build more muscle with, let's say, dumbbell press, and you start lifting heavy with those weights, or even bench press is a better example. Start lifting heavy, and the one thing with that is, yeah, you'll make more gains, but it's gonna be harder on your joints. So how does this correlate with push-ups? What I'm basically saying is, when you're doing those push-ups and you start to enter that till failure range, it's kind of like you lifting heavy, because your body each time, it's getting heavier and heavier for you to lift. But unlike lifting heavy, doing these high reps in calisthenics, once you get to that level, it's easier on the joints and you can repeat it. You can even train daily if you want. So I've talked to you about don't rush your progressions and focus on the basics. I used the push-up for the example, and this can apply to any exercise. You can be from mastering hang-in before you start to do chin-ups if you can't do a proper chin-up. But this one thing correlates with everything. It correlates with weightlifting, it correlates with bodyweight exercises, any exercise that you can think of. And that is form over everything else. That's right. Don't worry about the rep range. Worry about that once you start, having good form. And there's a book, Grit, and I was watching this vlog series by this guy named Hamza, and he talks about grit. And grit is basically you sticking with this thing even though you have shiny object syndrome, and you stick with it anyway. It's you fighting that ADHD tendency, and the way you can do that, and it correlates with everything in life, but for this video, I'm gonna use the example of weightlifting. Instead of you upping the weight, like let's say you're doing dumbbell curls or hammer curls, instead of you going from like 10 pounds to 15 pounds, make sure your form is on point. And once it gets too easy, where you're able to do like hundreds of reps on that exercise, okay, that's a bit extreme, but you get my point. Then you can up the progression. With calisthenics, it can be the standard push-up gets too easy, then you start to progress it into the decline push-up, and then the cycle repeats. So remember, form over everything else. Add this principle to your workouts and you will make gains. And these are the things I wish I knew when I started lifting and doing calisthenics together, because hey, I probably could have gotten fitter way sooner, but hey, if I can help you get fitter faster than I did, then I've done my job. Hit the like and subscribe button if you want, if you are interested in videos like this.